Spiritual warfare. How real are demons and angels? What does the Bible really teach? What if the greatest battle in history isn't being fought with armies, or weapons, or technology, but in a realm that cannot be seen? For thousands of years, people from many cultures have spoken about spiritual beings, messengers of light, forces of darkness, angels, demons. The Bible describes both as real parts of its spiritual worldview. But what exactly does it say? Are angels simply symbols of hope? Are demons literal beings, symbolic representations of evil, or something else? And what does the Bible mean when it speaks about spiritual warfare? Tonight, we're exploring one of the most mysterious and debated subjects in Christianity. We'll examine biblical passages, historical context, and different Christian interpretations to better understand what Scripture teaches. And before this journey is over, you'll discover why this topic has captured people's imagination for centuries. But before we can understand spiritual warfare, we first need to understand the unseen world described in the Bible. Chapter 1. The Bible's invisible realm, heaven and earth in biblical thought. Angels as messengers and servants. Spiritual realities in Scripture. Why the unseen world matters. Narrator. The Bible often reminds readers that not everything real is visible. Its authors describe an unseen dimension where God's purposes unfold alongside human history. What did they mean by this? The answer begins with one of the Bible's most fascinating creations. Chapter 2. Who are the angels? Angels in the Old and New Testaments. Different roles. Famous biblical encounters. Common misconceptions. Discuss figures such as Gabriel and Michael, explaining their roles according to Scripture. But if there are angels who serve God, what does the Bible say about demons? Chapter 3. Who are the demons? Biblical descriptions. Temptation and opposition. Different Christian understandings. Symbolic and literal interpretations. Present the range of views fairly. And that leads us to one of the Bible's earliest stories of spiritual rebellion. Chapter 4. The origin of evil Satan in Scripture. Rebellion imagery. The fall. Why interpretations vary. Clarify where the Bible speaks directly and where later traditions connect passages. But spiritual warfare is about more than dramatic encounters. Chapter 5. What is spiritual warfare? Temptation, faithfulness, prayer, moral choices, the armor of God. Explain that many Christians understand spiritual warfare primarily as a call to remain faithful in everyday life. So how did Jesus respond to spiritual opposition? Chapter 6. Jesus in spiritual conflict, temptation in the wilderness. Encounters described in the Gospels. Compassion and authority. Purpose of these accounts. Keep the focus on the biblical narrative. But what about today? Do Christians believe these realities continue? Chapter 7. Different Christian perspectives today. Evangelical views. Catholic and Orthodox perspectives. Mainline Protestant approaches. Areas of agreement and disagreement, present respectfully without suggesting one view is the only valid interpretation. And perhaps the most practical question is still ahead. Chapter 8. Discernment and wisdom, avoiding fear, avoiding superstition, testing teachings, focusing on Scripture and prayer. The Bible consistently encourages discernment rather than panic. It points believers toward wisdom, prayer, and faith rather than fear of the unknown. And now we return to the central question. Chapter 9. How real are angels and demons? What the Bible explicitly says. What Christians generally agree on. What remains debated. Why humility is important when discussing spiritual mysteries. The Bible presents a world that is larger than what our eyes can see. It speaks of hope and struggle, of faith and temptation, of God's presence and His promises. Whether someone approaches these passages as matters of faith, history, or theological reflection, they continue to raise profound questions about the nature of reality and humanity's place within it. Perhaps the greatest message of spiritual warfare is not fear of darkness, but confidence in God's faithfulness. And that message has encouraged believers across generations,